So when we were in France, Paris, France, we went over to the Arc, and I had my drone with me, which is the Hubsan Zeno Pro. And so I wanted to fly it, and I was pretty much already knowing that there was going to be some trouble coming ahead because over in the United States, they always have crazy strict rules about flying the drone around like historic buildings and art and stuff like that. But basically, I had set it up. Took me quite a while to set it up because of how cold it was, and I start flying it. And so the way that it is that you have to use this controller right here, that controller, and there are antennas on it that have to face a certain way, and the bottom part of it pulls out so that you can fit your phone in there, so it clamps down on your phone. And right there is where the cable goes in so it can connect to the controller and then to the phone. And so when your phone is like opened just below the controller, you have to go into the app and sign in, like make an account, and it'll connect to the drone and all that, and then you can see the interface and you can see all of the logistics, longitude, latitude, the height, speed, and all of the different settings and things like that. You can do compass calibration, which you have to do before flying. You can do you can also see the screen of what's showing on the camera. And so I started flying it, and I had taken it pretty far. I don't think I've ever taken it this far before. And then all of a sudden, it starts either saying that it lost connection or that the USB cable was not connected, and it was. I kept on checking it. It might have been saying both, but either way, I had started trying to like move it back, but every time that I tried to use the joysticks, nothing happened. It wouldn't like have signal. So then, thankfully, I pressed the return to home button, which brings the drone all the way like really high up in the sky, and then it goes back to the same coordinates where it took off, and it lands in place. Thankfully, I had pressed that just before I had fully lost connection, because if I didn't press that, I would have not been able to do anything with that drone at all. It would have stayed so high up in the air until it ran out of battery and then just fell in the sky in the middle of the giant roundabout that's in Paris, right next to that arc, where there's constantly cars coming. And so it came back, but I still couldn't control anything with the drone. So when it lands, all the propellers are still spinning very wildly. And when that happens, it's also very sensitive to little gusts of wind. And it'll keep on like lifting a little bit and going to the side and stuff, even though it landed, because all of the propellers are still spinning really wildly. So my grandpa, who was with me, he had to hold it down so that it wouldn't move around or anything. He had to hold it down with like his fingers. So we had decided to just take some pieces of the blanket that we had lied down and like gloves and stuff to put it in front of the propellers, so that way they would just stop, because if they really cannot move anymore, they will stop. They might start again, but that's just kind of like taking a chance. So we did that, and the propeller stopped, but the drone was still operating. It was still on. And I tried holding down the power button on it. It still didn't turn off. I couldn't do anything with the controller. I couldn't do anything with the interface. I couldn't do anything. So I decided, since there isn't any kind of information about when this stuff happens online or in the instruction manual, I decided to call my dad, who gave me that drone. He used to own it. And he didn't answer. So I decided to just say, fuck it. I'm going to pull out that battery right then and right now, because there's no way I can turn this drone off other than pulling out that battery, unless I just want to wait for the battery to die and then pull it out. So I pulled it out. It stopped operating. I shut everything down. But also, you know, during this whole time when it was losing signal, the controller, I tried to restart it. I tried to replug in the connector, the USB to the phone, replug it into the controller. Nothing worked whatsoever. I kept on trying to click on different things inside of the interfacing settings to see if I could reconnect, but it kept saying something along the lines of that it can't reconnect because the drone is currently operating, and so I guess it just has to do that when it's starting up and not when it's in the air. But I mean, it's a little bit contradicting itself. I don't know. But then, as I was taking apart the drone after getting it to stop, there were two police officers that came over who were looking directly at my grandpa. I didn't see this happening because I was down on the ground with my rice hat, which is pretty big, and I had noticed them when I saw their feet. I saw two pairs of feet in uniform walking up to him and then started talking to him. I look up. One of them has a giant fucking gun that kind of looks like plastic, it just kind of doesn't look real. And so um they started saying that basically they don't want people flying drones because there are quite a lot of terrorists and people would want to fly drones so that they can study the building and shit, um, so that they know like where to plant bombs and things like that. And th- like like the art in Paris is very important to the French people, and so they don't want to take any risk of anything happening to it, and so you have to get permission from the police to to fly a drone there. So the guy was like, "It's not possible," and talking about how they like they basically didn't really give him any hard time because he was being nice and he was saying, "Yeah, we didn't know about these rules. I'm sorry." And they had left us alone, and I asked to get a picture with the guy that was holding the gun. And I really wish that I took more pictures because that one that I took came out quite like kind of blurry. But I mean, either way, it was quite the experience.